The sky over Cold Creek, Colorado, was the color of old ash when the call came in. It was just after 6 a.m. on a frigid February morning, the kind where the air nipped at exposed skin and fog rolled slowly down the icy mountain road, shrouding everything in a ghostly veil. A jogger, breath billowing like soft clouds, stumbled upon a car parked halfway down the slope, its hazard lights flickering weakly against the oppressive dullness of the morning. The engine hummed, a lone heartbeat in the stillness. The driver's door hung open, a silent invitation into the unknown. Inside, the seats were empty. A cavernous silence echoed within the vehicle, amplifying the unease that began to gnaw at the jogger's gut. The driver had vanished, and though the jogger's mind raced with possibilities, a gnawing thought crept in. What if something was terribly wrong? The jogger's heart quickened as her eyes flitted around the interior. A phone sat in the cup holder, its screen glowing with a flurry of missed calls, like a beacon of unfulfilled urgency. On the passenger seat, a leather-bound journal lay open, its pages ruffled by the wind, alongside a child's stuffed rabbit, its ears stained with mud, whispering secrets of childhood adventures lost. By the time the police arrived, frost clung stubbornly to the windshield, a crystalline layer that mirrored the chills settling into the hearts of those gathering. A license plate traced back to 32-year-old Hannah Cole, a beloved art teacher at Cold Creek Elementary, known for painting vibrant murals that breathed life into the dull school walls. She had disappeared sometime between 10 p.m. and midnight the night before, leaving only questions in her wake. At first, the scene hinted at a benign misfortune. Perhaps her car had broken down, or she had ventured out to seek help. But when the sheriff's deputy shone his flashlight into the snow beyond the car, the light caught a faint line of footprints trailing into the woods. Their feet, unhurried and deliberate, leading into the tree line. And then they stopped. No blood, no body, just a calm, straight line ending abruptly, as if the wearer had simply been erased from existence. News of Hannah's disappearance swept through Cold Creek like wildfire. In a town where everyone knew everyone, the shock resonated deeply. Cold Creek was a place suspended in time, home to barely 1,700 souls. One diner, one gas station, and one high school. Hannah had grown up there, her laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves in the wind. But that warmth was snuffed out a year prior when tragedy struck. Their 5-year-old daughter, Lily, drowned in a frozen pond while sledding. After that, Hannah seemed to drift, her spirit dimming like a flickering candle. Neighbors whispered that she often wandered into the woods near her home, sometimes barefoot in the frigid air. They thought it was simply grief manifesting, her heart aching for Lily, who seemed to call her from the depths of the trees. But now, with her inexplicable disappearance, a darker narrative began to take shape. Detectives combed through Hannah's car and found her purse, wallet, and a thermos of tea still warm, its steam rising like lost memories. But it was her journal that sent chills down their spines. On the last page, written in uneven, smeared handwriting, were the words, "I saw her again," accompanied by a rough sketch depicting a small figure standing in a forest clearing. The following morning, search teams set out at dawn, an army of officers, rangers, and volunteers combing the snow and brush, calling her name into the void. 2 days of searching passed with no sign. On the third day, a rescue dog picked up Hannah's scent near Cold Creek Ridge, about 5 miles from her car. They found a scarf tangled in branches and something else, a small stuffed rabbit, identical to the one left in her car. As evening descended, snow began to fall heavily, a relentless blanket covering the land, forcing the search to pause. It was at 3:14 a.m. when one of the deputies, monitoring trail cameras, noticed movement along the ridgeline. A figure walking barefoot, thin and ethereal, wearing a white nightgown. It was Hannah. But the next frame showed only emptiness. By morning, Mark Cole, Hannah's husband, arrived at the sheriff's office, desperation etched in the lines of his face. He hadn't slept in 3 days, his voice trembling as he recounted how, 2 nights before her disappearance, Hannah had awakened screaming, claiming to see Lily standing at the foot of their bed, her hair wet, her lips blue, but smiling, asking her mother to come find her. The sheriff listened, but his mind flickered back to the trail cam footage, where Hannah's reflection seemed unnaturally dark, her mouth slightly open, as though whispering something just beyond hearing. They sent the footage for analysis, but as days passed, the case spiraled into legend. On the third week, hikers stumbled upon a hidden cave entrance, revealing torn pages of sketches, clothing remnants, and eerie symbols painted on the stone walls. Among them, a chilling depiction of a woman kneeling in the snow beside a child. The child's face a blank void, with the words, "The Hollow Mother," scrawled above. The legend began to take root. A mother, lost in mourning, haunting the mountains looking for her child, luring others with the imitations of lost voices. It terrified and captivated the town, drawing in visitors curious about the tale. As weeks turned into months with no resolution, a park ranger named Lewis reported hearing a soft, ethereal singing along the ridge. He followed the haunting melody until he found a woman half buried in snow, her hands folded neatly in her lap, her hair frosted over. Her eyes were open and unseeing. It was Hannah Cole. The medical examiner ruled her death as hypothermia, but the circumstances raised unsettling questions. There were no signs of struggle, and her bare feet bore no injuries, as if she hadn't traveled far at all. A child's stuffed rabbit sat beside her, and on the tree trunk behind her, scratched deep into the bark, were the words, "She found me." The town mourned, teachers held candlelight vigils, and students painted murals in Hannah's memory. Yet something about the case lingered uneasily, like an itch beneath the skin. 2 weeks later, the lead detective, Evan Marks, returned to the cave, where the melted snow revealed new drawings, this time depicting a taller, darking figure, reaching toward the childlike shape beside it. Evan enhanced one image on his computer, and a chill washed over him. Hidden in the shadows of the original cave photo was the outline of a figure lurking behind Hannah's painting, a presence that hadn't been there when the officers first entered. That night, his patrol SUV was found similarly abandoned, parked on the road where Hannah's car had once been. The engine was running, and inside the cup holder sat a single stuffed rabbit. With Evan's disappearance, Cold Creek transformed. The sheriff's office sealed the ridge, and the air grew heavy with dread. Locals reported strange sounds, soft humming, whispering, and sometimes the unmistakable laughter of a child carried on the wind. Mark Cole eventually left Cold Creek, the memories too painful to endure. Before he departed, he donated Hannah's paintings to the school. One mural of stars twinkling brightly remained in the hallway, a haunting reminder of her spirit. But it was there that a janitor discovered something strange. When the hallway lights dimmed, faint outlines emerged in the background, the shadows of a woman kneeling, a child cradling a toy rabbit. He kept it to himself. The story of Cold Creek became one of Colorado's most eerie disappearances, officially ending with Hannah's death. Yet each February, hikers reported fresh, small bare footprints leading along the trail near the ridge, footprints that disappeared into thin air, abruptly stopping where hers had. Whispers began to spread. Some believed that grief had woven a new reality, while others spoke of a darker presence in the woods, one that promised reunion but never peace. Whatever truth lingered in the shadows of Cold Creek, the townspeople learned a haunting lesson. Sometimes, love does not let go. It simply waits. As the seasons turned, Cold Creek was a town learning to forget. Days became warmer, the snow melted, and the ridge trails reopened. Yet the community couldn't shake the lingering shadows of Hannah Cole's death. The air remained tinged with an unshakable chill, memories clinging like frost that refused to thaw. Despite the cheerful sun illuminating the streets, the laughter of tourists faded, leaving behind an unsettling silence that echoed through the empty streets. Within the dim confines of the sheriff's office, the case was archived under the unsightly label of Case Number 121F, presumed death by exposure. The sealed cave held its secrets tight, evidence stored away like an old wound buried beneath the surface. But Detective Marks, who had vanished under the weight of it all, left behind a haunting presence that loomed over the department like a specter. Enter Detective Laura Kendall, a newcomer from Denver, whose arrival was met with wary glances and hushed warnings to avoid reopening old wounds. But Laura, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a fierce dedication to truth, was not one to ignore the loose threads of a cold case. The haunting nature of Cold Creek and its mysteries wrapped around her like a chilling fog. In her first week, she carefully reviewed the dashcam footage from Marks's patrol SUV, the very vehicle discovered abandoned like Hannah's car. Most of the footage consisted of monotonous darkness and faint radio murmurs, but something odd flickered in the final seconds. A small face, childlike, peering through the passenger side window. Laura replayed the footage time and again, the image etching itself into her mind. It wasn't a mere reflection. It was a child's face, clear and haunting. The technician beside her swore he felt the temperature drop, a frost forming at the edges of the screen. But Laura, grounded in facts and evidence, dismissed the sensation. Still, Cold Creek offered no concrete answers, only fleeting moments, elusive as smoke. Determined to understand, Laura sought out Mark Cole, Hannah's husband, who had distanced himself 3 hours away, attempting to rebuild his life after loss. His hands trembled as he poured coffee, the weight of grief palpable in the air. She wasn't herself anymore, he confessed, his voice heavy with sorrow. At night, she'd stand by the window, claiming she could hear Lily singing from the woods, a lullaby from her childhood. Laura pressed for the words of the lullaby, but he shook his head, the pain evident in his eyes. I stopped listening. I couldn't take it anymore. As she left, his warning lingered in her mind, a chilling echo. If you go up there, don't go alone. 2 days later, armed with a drone and recording equipment, Laura returned to Cold Creek Ridge, feeling the weight of the town's history pressing down on her like a heavy snow. The air was sharp, filled with an ancient chill, as she hiked past the sealed cave, through the pines that whispered secrets like the ocean's tides. The thawing soil crunched beneath her boots, and the scent of damp earth filled her lungs. In an old clearing, her recorder captured a low, rhythmic hum, soft and almost like breathing, followed by a sight that sent shivers down her spine. Small, barefoot footprints pressed lightly into the ground, leading towards a half-frozen pond. As she approached, the ice shifted, revealing something beneath the surface. Was it debris? No, it was a painting, framed and perfectly preserved, submerged in the ice. The search team retrieved it the next day, and the artwork was unmistakably Hannah's, a depiction of a woman kneeling beside a pond, reaching toward a reflection that wasn't her own, but rather a child reaching back from beneath the water. In the upper corner, 3 faint words emerged from the paint texture, sending a chill through Laura. She's not alone. Forensics confirmed the pigments matched those in Hannah's studio. The frame coated in silt identical to that of Cold Creek's waters. Yet the mystery of how the painting ended up beneath the ice baffled everyone. That night, Laura settled into a small cabin near the ridge, cataloging her notes. At 2:17 a.m., the stillness was shattered by soft humming outside her window, a lullaby, gentle and familiar. Heart racing, she pulled back the curtains, only to find the world outside empty. Beneath her window, however, lay tiny footprints in the snow, accompanied by a damp stuffed rabbit, as if a child had just been there. The following morning, overwhelmed and unable to file another report, Laura made her way out of Cold Creek. 3 months later, she mailed her resignation letter to the sheriff's office. Enclosed was a flash drive containing the haunting audio from her body cam and a simple, handwritten note. Some stories aren't meant to be solved, they're meant to be remembered. The case file was sealed permanently under Cold Creek County Archives, access restricted. Yet, whispers among the locals told of a strange occurrence. Every February, when snow blanketed the ridge once more, the old road where Hannah's car was found hummed quietly at night, like wind weaving through hollow wood. And if one listened closely, they could hear the echo of a woman's voice, calling softly between the trees, a name that no longer answered. In the depths of grief, some hearts search relentlessly for what they have lost, only to discover something else lingering in the shadows. Cold Creek stands as a reminder that love, when unmoored from life, can reverberate forever. And perhaps the most haunting revelation of all is that the unknown often sounds just like someone you desperately miss.